Hi, welcome to this episode of Punching Through. And today I'm really excited to introduce you to and get to know Alexandra Barrage a little bit better. Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to dig into this sort of topic of women and growth and mentorship and us punching through, as we like to say. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'd like to kick off with asking you, when you heard about this, what about this kind of works for you? What's kind of spoke to you about this topic? Why are you interested in speaking with us today?
Thank you so much, Sylvie. It's a pleasure to be here. I think the reason that this project really interested in me is because most of the speaking that I do is very substantive. It's about the issues that I follow in my practice as a lawyer. And it's a breath of fresh air to be able to talk about issues that are broader, that are impacting women across all industries, not just the legal industry. And if I can do something that is relatively small to be part of that broader discussion, supporting and mentoring women, I'm more than happy to do it.
No, that's great. Thank you. And we were chatting about some of the, getting to know each other for a few moments before we kicked into the recording. You had specifically talked about the importance of mentorship and some of the benefits that you've received throughout your career. Can you share a little bit about that and maybe some of the kind of tips or tricks that you might kind of pass on to some young folks listening in today?
Sure. My experience with mentorship, both mentoring other colleagues and being mentored, I've been very fortunate. I would say earlier in my career, before I started a family, I didn't have many women mentors that were senior to me that were helpful in guiding my path and getting me to believe that I could continue succeeding as a lawyer at a law firm or otherwise. And then I met someone who was not doing exactly what I do day to day, but who was working in some ways adjacent to what I do. And she's a very senior lawyer at one of my prior firms. And she got me to believe that I could succeed. I was at the time more than happy to just do really good work all the time and kind of maintain the status quo. And I would say that in her way, she really got me to think a little bit differently about my career. And I am still very grateful for those series of discussions. I have found that as I've kind of grown up in the law, both in government and in a law firm, those senior mentor women are few and far between. That's partly because most partner level big firm lawyers are currently men. And I want to plug in for a lot of the male supporters that I've had along the way. So I don't want to just limit this to women. But my advice would be, when you can find somebody who is really genuine and who wants to see you succeed, no matter what happens, whether you leave that position at that company or at that firm or you move around, to hold on to those relationships, because they can be very sustaining, and they are also, in my experience, pretty rare. And so I've been fortunate to get pockets of support from so many different places, including from competitors that don't see the competition. They just kind of want to help out, and I hold on to those relationships. They're very special to me.
And I think that's really important to highlight, because we don't necessarily always see those for what they are and what they can provide to you. And I'm really glad that you kind of mentioned some, men who provided some support and leadership, because, the reality is that, many of us, having sort of kind of moved up through our profession, didn't have a lot of women when they kind of looked up. I mean, there's probably two throughout my entire career that were operating at a more senior level. And so if I didn't have the male advocates and the support systems that I'd had, it would have been much harder. And so I think it's really important that we don't just have this solely focus, but I think we do owe it to sort of the young women kind of up and coming to make sure that we have our eyes open and that we're looking for them and we're extending our hand out, to them. Was there a pivotal kind of moment in your career? It sounds like this one female lawyer who really helped you at your other law firm may have sort of took you down that path. But was there a moment where all of a sudden you realize, hey, like I actually want to do this. I want to know that you're a partner today. And is there something that you realize, this is why I want to do it? This is why I know that I can be good at it?
I wouldn't say there was one moment. I would say there were a series of moments over time. And a lot of those moments or accomplishments were actually outside of my world as a lawyer. A lot of the success I've had personally has made me physically and mentally resilient, particularly through my running. I run a lot. I train for endurance races. I'm training for a marathon at the moment. And I think a lot of the successes I've had outside of work have made me more confident that I can take on challenges professionally and overcome obstacles and succeed. So it's been a collection of experiences like that where I have a goal, I have a plan to accomplish that goal. Sometimes it doesn't quite go exactly as I plan, but when I succeed, that is just one of the most amazing feelings that I have. And so whether it's running a race or having an amazing moment as a parent or as a wife or as a community member, those little, excuse me, those kind of mini experiences across time, I think give me confidence. And also make me realize that there's no way I can do everything and know everything. And so I'm also hopefully balancing that with a heavy dose of humility. But yeah, I would say that that's still happening. And hopefully I will continue.
Well, I love how you just sort of paraphrased that, because I don't know if you even realized that you did it, but we're talking about, women punching through, and particularly in being successful within our professional career is sort of the underlying sort of component of this. But when you talked about your successes, whether it's be, finish a marathon or parent, or you actually didn't talk about work, which I love, right? So it's all of that completeness of us in our holistic life then brings us to, again, bring that confidence to bear, where that may bring it forward from a professional perspective. So thank you for that. I think that's a really important, powerful message.
I also want to add that there have been many moments where in my professional life, I've been validated by clients or colleagues. And so to your point, I think it's all part of the way I think about success.
Yes.
There aren't these clear lines necessarily. It's, when you do good work and you can convince a client that you're providing value or that your team is providing value, it sounds pretty straightforward and simple, but it's actually a very genuinely amazing feeling to know that you're part of that.
100%. And a lot harder than some people think that it is. So I totally understand that. I totally get that. And I respect that. Well, Alex, thank you ever so much for spending time for us today. And I look forward to those who tuned in today to join us at our next episode of Punching Through. Thanks again, Alex.
Thank you so much, SLB. Great to meet you.